So, hi, I am KB with Nerdophiles. How are you?
I am so awesome. This has been one of the greatest times in my life, and I'm just happy to be in good spirit and halfway decent.
I was going to say good health.
Yeah, well, great health, like
Okay.
physically, because my dream is to by this time next year only be doing sci-fi action films.
Ooh.
So, like physically, I may be, with the exception of speed, I may be in the best shape of my life.
Oh, I love it.
I'm grateful, more grateful that I'm present mentally. You know,
Mhm.
we go through so much. Like I don't think we realize that we just came out a period of history that a lot of people, at one point in history didn't survive.
Mhm.
And I think because we have so much technology and we have a tendency of masking things really well, I don't think that we understand what we all have gone through and being able to survive. And I'm really, really grateful.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, things have fundamentally shifted and changed for us. I think, kind of going through what we did as a global collective, like things are not the same. It really shaped us in new ways that we weren't anticipating. But could be seen as something better. Now I think we are more focused on really heart to hearts and having better conversations and communication with our community, and so that's lovely to see. Yeah.
And let me tell you why I think I know that that's the case. People actually even speak more in New York. Like when I walk through the streets of New York, I think after all the stuff that city has gone through, it's
Mhm.
brought a level of humanity. And I know if New York can do it as a person from Mississippi,
Uh-huh.
that I know the rest of the world can too. So we do have a certain level of hope.
Yes, yes, yes. So first, I got to episode 6 and I was like, not Mo Slim, like, dang. But then I had to remind myself that nobody is safe on the show. Like, truly, that was established, I think, very, very early on that no one is safe. So I have to ask you first, do you think that there are any actions that Mo regretted when it came to how he handled the robbery and even wanting to get Frank out?
None at all. I mean, if you look at it, if Taraji wouldn't have grabbed the gun, Mo made the first move.
Hmm.
So Sam wouldn't have made it. Frank wouldn't have made it if Taraji wouldn't have taken the gun. So the thing is, man, I'm really grateful. Like black people are really, really reacting to Mo Slim. And I was telling somebody I approached this character a little bit different because Tasha Smith taught me that a lot of times they give us these characters so that we can portray different caricatures and different stereotypes. And I'm not saying that this is the case because Black people brought this to fruition. But what I will say through that, Tasha Smith showed me that it is my responsibility to bring a certain level of humanity to whoever I portray, because these people are a subsection of our culture and they demand the attention, they demand a certain level of respect
Mm.
and or the fullest amount of respect that we can give them and attention to detail. So for me, I'm the guy that made like a pimp.
Yeah.
So like I approach tough men from a vulnerable standpoint. Because if you look at real life, usually a bully comes from being bullied. Usually a pimp comes from being hurt, being taken advantage of himself. And other communities never want to realize that a lot of times I was telling somebody that when I was researching this character and I found one of the most notorious pimps in the Midwest. And because Mo was from Missouri, I wanted to find someone who was engulfed in the same situations that he came from. And they asked him, "What did you want to be when you were a child?" And you know what he said, sweetie? He said, "I wanted to be a gymnast."
Oh, wow.
And what that showed me was the disparity in some of our neighborhoods. He
Hmm.
didn't want to be something aggressive like a football player, a drug dealer, or a policeman, or nothing like that, and just fell short of it. He wanted to be a gymnast. And so for me, I think the way that I played Mo, and if you remember right before I did the monologue with Sam, if you look, he was sitting over there smoking. He knew if he said something to Frank, it wasn't no pulling that back.
Right.
And and I was telling somebody, and you have to travel with me to really get what I'm saying. If you remember, Frank asked him, something wrong, Slim?
Hmm.
Maybe if Frank wouldn't have ever asked him that question, because he was sitting there like, shit. And if you look at his whole body, once he decided to do it, he was like, fuck it, let's go.
Right. Right.
And
Things
that's
shifted in
usually
his body language.
right. That's usually how it happens in life because he knew it was war. Him or Sam, I mean, excuse me, him or Frank had to go.
Hmm.
And can I tell you something personal? Is because I like your spirit. I was sort of feeling something, so I give you something I haven't given anybody else yet.
Yeah.
Um, when they changed the script a lot while
Mm.
we were shooting, and everybody on set for the most part knew that Mo was gonna die before I did,
Oh,
and
wow.
that really bothered me, But God revealed something to me. You got to think about this. I could have lived and had a very small role that nobody would have ever remembered, right? We know what Sam does. There's not many people on this planet or aliens that can be in the same space as Samuel Jackson. So you even got to think from a business perspective. They paid Sam and Kevin. So to a certain degree, if you are even in that stratosphere or in that area at all, there's no way for you to survive. I mean, from a business perspective, there's no way for you to survive, right? So for me to be given the opportunity to compete on that level at all was a blessing. So they had to build Mo up to the point where it would even make sense for him to be in that room. And for me to be in the space mentally, physically, spiritually, to even be able to pull it off, people are looking at me different all over the world. So there is no other way besides Mo Slim dying that I could have, even as an actor, as a person, as a human being, to be considered the way that I'm being considered today. So it's an honor
Mm.
to even be, across from the person, whether he embraces me that way or not. Samuel Jackson is one of the people he was my acting coach on Black Snake Moan.
Right.
Like, so for me to even be in that space and considered to be able to hold my own, and I'm not gonna lie, people talk about Mo Slim all over the world. You know what I'm saying? I saw this dude, he made a meme. He was like, Mo Slim ain't taking it. Mo Slim ain't taking it. So if you think about it from that perspective, I would rather, Mo take a L so that David Banner can be the A-lister, next year.
Mm.
And the only way that I could have done that in that world is that because you ain't go yap to Frank and live. So
And
either Frank got to go or Mo Slim got to go, and for what they paid, they gonna keep Sam.
But you know what? I think that's okay. Sometimes characters do die in service of the greater storyline, and that's okay. But I do like what you're saying because as an artist, just even having kind of this opportunity and having this, forever, people can go back and watch this series and see what you've done with it. That's something to take out of it. And so that's what I wanted to ask you next, because you have been an artist for so long. So, stepping into Mo Slim, what other ways did it challenge you kind of creatively? But it also, what other ways did it awaken you creatively? Because, you mentioned kind of having Tasha guide you through this, who I love her so much, and the things that she's been able to do for other artists has been just amazing. So, yeah, so how has it also kind of awakened, more in you creatively?
um, I'll say this, and I've been holding this story, but I'll give it to you. When I was shooting this. I was actually shooting another TV show too. I'm the lead antagonist in Family Business New Orleans that's coming out in December on BET. Um, I was actually shooting two major TV shows at the same time, and it took a toll on me. And personally, I was going through one of the hardest times in my life. And I actually drew from Mo Slim and Jean Pierre, I mean, sorry, Jean LeBlanc on Family Business because he's like a mob boss in New Orleans. And so a lot of times when I wasn't strong enough myself, I pulled because you got to think you're in these personalities in these bodies from 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day, for 2 months straight, and it was funny, man. There were times when I would put that wig on, getting ready for Mo Slim, and Mona would tell me she could tell the change in my body, like
Mm-hmm.
the way that I held my body. And to be honest with you, some of my hardest days that I've had in my life, I would really in my mind be like, what would Mo do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would Jean do in this situation? And so I pull from these characters sometimes until when David Banner wasn't strong enough. You know what I'm saying? And I've never done that before in my life, but I really like these characters, and I want to give you a nugget. So if I end up doing this, you'd be like, "Damn, David Banner told me about this." I had an idea for a story. It was this illustrator, black illustrator, that is sort of half cartoon, half real life.
Mm-hmm.
That this illustrator, his characters were alive in his mind and in his world, but like let's say when he ended up getting this big opportunity and became a producer instead of a illustrator, when he became a father, when his wife got pregnant and he started focusing on his kids, that those characters started dying. Like they started fading away because his attention went away when it was just him in his college dorm or whatever. That's all he focused on were those characters, right? And to a certain degree, I create these people and I embody them in my body and in my physical being. And that's how serious I take the art of acting. But then in a certain, because somebody asked me while I was just at Jazzy Jeff retreat,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody asked me, they was like, "Yo, I heard that Pop drew a lot from Bishop." And what they were trying to do was take a stab at Pop. But I was like, no, I feel him because, sometimes we need those things. You got to think about um, Terrell Owens when he always talked about T.O.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the Mamba, when it came to Kobe Bryant and him having to separate himself in order to become something that would help him project himself forward. So I can honestly say that as much as the general public, especially Black people, love Mo Slim, I'd like to take this opportunity in a very strange way to say thank you to him for allowing, me to lean on him when I wasn't strong enough as an individual. So a lot of times we feel like we're giving so much to a character. I know that Mo Slim gave a lot to me as a human being.
Oh, I
And I
love.
don't know if that makes sense to people, but I'm giving it to you.
No, no, it makes sense. It makes sense because we do kind of, I do feel that art is a very symbiotic relationship in the sense that, like, we give and we get from it, we as creative people in whatever context that looks like. And so,
Mhm.
whenever you're working on a project, I do believe that you are meant to take something away from it that will help you kind of grow, that will help you kind of move through the next space, or even to your point, that may be able to help you personally with something, that's going on. So no, that makes total sense. And I love to hear that. Like, listen, I cannot wait to see Family Business New Orleans. Since you are, I said, come on, Family Business New Orleans. It's a Family Business is a wild show. So like, listen, I will gladly talk to you about that series again. But just thank you so much for taking time to chat with Nerdophiles about this one. So really, really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. I'm honored.
Thank you. And also, let me just say, Jackson, Mississippi has some of my favorite food in the US. So every time I go, I'm like, I know that's right, y'all. Putting y'all
Food
foot.
and people. I'll tell you something
Yes,
really quick. My trainers used to hate when I would go home. Like I'm serious. I would gain like 15 pounds in 3 days every time I go
every
home.
time. Let me tell
Yep.
you, I love it.
And it's crazy because like, me growing up in Mississippi, most of our favorite foods are a carb load within themselves. I'm macaroni. We do rich stuff, macaroni and cheese and dressing and what I'm saying. Our salads are basically hamburgers. It'd be
Yes.
more meat.
Yes, yes. And let me tell you, I used to work there in my real life for one of the hospitals there. And I used to be like, now y'all can't have me eating like this. You know what we're up against.
Yeah.
And have me eating like this. However, the food is so good. So, so good that I can't say no. So yes, I just had to share because I'm like, listen, that food in Mississippi got me in a chokehold every time I go, you know?
Yeah. It's it's one of the things that I actually sort of fight against now, but
It's hard.
food means more to Southerners.
Hmm.
Food is almost our friend. It's
Hmm. It's made with love.
it's made with love. It's that thing that got a lot of us through during those hard times. You got to think, you know, one of the things that I tell people in my own life is that you're not a slave anymore, so you don't have to eat like one.
Mhm.
So you got to think what we had to turn, the leftovers and the scraps into. And it's so funny how people would take our ideas, take what we were forced to deal with, and sell it back to us $80 a plate now. You know what I'm saying? Which
Mhm.
used to be their trash that we turn into a delicacy.
Right.
These are books. These are books and movies and things that I really want to talk about through a banner vision. And, very soon through fight night. I want to say one thing before I leave. I just want to thank the general public for their affinity for Mo Slim. I would have never imagined that, he would have turned into, I think a lot of people, especially from the streets, sometimes our characters are joked at and laughed at, and I talked about this. Like Tasha Smith, she told me, she was like, Banner, it is our responsibility to take those stereotypical characters or those characters that they always try to make us play. And I don't believe that was the case in this particular project, but we have to give life to them.
Mhm.
We have to approach them from a standpoint where people will not only love or laugh or at them, but understand them. You know what I'm saying? And understand that most of the time, the people who we had to become was because of the situations, not necessarily because of the choices that we decided to make. We did make the choice to do it, but it wasn't like, hey, this is what I want to be when I grow up. This
Right.
is what was left for me. So I'm honored that I was able, and to be honest with you, I get so much love from the pimps, not just because of Mo Slim, but you got to think I was a guy that made Like a Pimp. My career started from Like a Pimp. So I'm grateful. And I also am grateful for you deeming me worthy of being a part of your platform.
Yes.
And I know that I have very poignant opinions. And so for people to give me their time and what they work very hard on, I will try to never take advantage of that. So I'm grateful and thank y'all. Make sure that y'all go get Peacock, watch Fight Night, go to davidbanner.com. I'm grateful.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Again, I truly, truly appreciate it. And thank you for bringing Muslim to the world. So I hope you have a great day.
I will. Be
Thank,
blessed.
thank you.
Thank
You
you
too.
guys.